Welcome back to Switch to Linux, and we just got some new Linux Mint news, so I thought we might talk about that today, as we always do. This is actually exciting because kernel management is on the table, and previously kernel management was in the Linux Mint Ubuntu edition, as far as I recall, and not in LMDE, and that is about to change, as well as the removal of other kernels that are unneeded and unused that are superseded, which in the past have worked. Now, for a while, Linux Mint also had this problem that auto remove wouldn't work. So you'd have to manually remove kernels. And now we're actually getting some real positive changes in here. So let's go ahead and have a look at the news. So this is the Linux Mint updated news from August 10th. Of course, we are recording this August 10th and releasing the video on August 11th. And so looking at this, obviously I want to start out with talking about the HWEs. This is the hardware enablement stacks. This is in the event you're running Linux Mint. So remember, this is part of a few point strategy. Linux Mint will have fewer releases now. They're going to take longer time on releases to focus on a lot of really good changes. But this might mean that Linux Mint shipping with the same kernel for a much longer time may not support the latest hardware. So what they're going to do is they're going to patch Linux Mint with an HWE, which will roll the kernel, although not necessarily everything else. And that is actually implementing now, already live. So over here, you can come over to this page here and you can download your HWEs. So the regular kernel inside the regular ISO is 6.14. The current kernels in the HWE ISOs is going to be 6.17 and 7. So you can go ahead and download these versions here to get Linux Mint with a newer kernel in the event you have newer hardware and might need that. So that is actually already rolling live. Now, everything else in here is pushing ahead and moving towards future changes in maybe not even the next editions, but things they are currently working on. And one of these, we have environment variables. This is going into that system, in which used to start as that system reports tool. That's where it started. And then they added a bunch of things to it. And actually, they have a boot menu. Look at this image. They actually have a boot menu here, which I've not seen any discussion on that yet. I don't remember if that was in there. But this is a new system administration tool allowing you to change things. I'd be really excited if you could do the boot menu in there as well. You can do your users, your boot menu, your kernels, and your environment variables. So if you have various environment variables you want to manually configure, you can go ahead and do that directly from the system administration tool. Now, the other things that they're doing, and this is the most relevant in the bulk of this video, is how they are changing their kernels. So on the Linux Mint Ubuntu edition, they're going to be removing the kernel management from the Mint Updater, which is where it currently is there. And I don't recall that's in LMDE. I could be wrong about that, but I'm not on LMDE on a daily basis, so I can't remember. But you used to go in there, and let me just go ahead and I'll pull up my streaming computer here to show you that. Let me find my desktop view here. So this is actually what our kernel adjustment is. And note, I've not updated this computer for a while. Even this, though, this is neat. I can actually already install 7 on this system. What are we using here right now? We're on 4. Yeah, we're using a really an old kernel on this streaming computer here, and this is just a computer I use to do just basic recording videos. I don't update it on a regular basis just to make sure things stay consistent. I roll it after testing on a separate computer. So this is old, but already in this edition, I can already go ahead and install this if I wanted to. The 7. That's actually neat. I didn't even know I could do that yet, but there it is. But this kernel management here, so let's see what else we have over here. So there's active, and does not look like I have any other ones installed. I probably removed all of the other ones, but usually after the system's been upgraded a lot, you'll see like active, and then you'll see installed, and those old kernels take up a lot of extra space. So what they're doing here now is they are changing that so that all of the new kernels are going to update themselves on a much more regular basis. And when they do that, you have the ability to track or untrack kernels. Tracked kernels will be able to see what all the status is. Untracked kernels will automatically remove old and unused versions of the kernels. And then you can even manage kernels that you've installed from third parties inside of the system. So you can see where you have everything. So here's the 7 LTS, there's the 7 HWE kernel. You see these are listed as tracked. There is a automatic cleanup option, so you can automatically remove older kernels. So you can view all kernels, you can automatically remove one, you can say how many number of kernels to keep in each tracked series. So this way you can do a lot of micromanagement on how many kernels are in your system. And this is really good stuff. And I remember an instance where on my computer when the kernel did actually go bad, and what I noticed is the display port wasn't working. I'd plug it in and sometimes it just freeze and I'd have all sorts of problems. I unplugged the HDMI cable and it worked out just fine. Yeah, I found out doing a little bit of research, it was a problem with the kernel. So I went back and went back to a previous kernel and everything worked perfectly. So that was a situation where you want to keep a few older ones, especially if you've been running a kernel, it's running just fine. You update to the new version. Do not remove the one you've been using that's worked fine until you've done extensive testing with the new one. But you can go in and make sure that your system is not using up too much space, because if you remember on that one laptop I have, which had a very small SSD in it, the space for the kernels actually filled up on an update and I didn't see that and it bricked the machine. So I had to go in and get into the system and fix it. Basically, I had to go in there and chroot into the system and fix the kernel manually from there. And then once I went ahead and did that, I was able to get the system actually back up and running. Because the space filled up with kernels, there was no more room left to install them. So now you can actually automatically manage that. And this is a really good thing. So here is what you're going to see when you go to update kernels. So you can you can remove the older kernels if you want. You can also set some kernels to be protected. So if you know one version is particularly good, you can set that as being protected as well. So if you install it from an unknown or custom series, the tool will list its series and give you the ability to mark it as tracked. So in this screenshot, they installed an OEM and a real-time kernel. So here is the OEM kernel. So it's not officially supported. This is just a kernel you would have downloaded and installed into your system, but it will still show up in here. You can mark it as tracked as well. But it will warn you it's not officially supported. And then here's the LTS and the HWE and the HWE Edge. So you have a lot of your ability to manage your kernels in there as well. Now, again, this is not necessarily going to be the next version. It could be more information is needed, but this is what they are currently working on. So here is them tracking the OEM kernel. You can mark it as tracked. If it's not tracked, all of the installed kernels get automatically removed during the next cleanup, unless you protect them. You can click View All Kernels to remove or protect individual kernels. So here, you can grab this kernel here, and here's your bug reports or change logs. You can protect or unprotect. You can remove it, or you can close out of the system here. And when a kernel is marked as protected, it becomes immune to kernel cleanups and never gets deleted. So this is a major change that will impact not only the Ubuntu version, but will also now give us kernel management in LMDE, which is a huge, huge bonus for those running LMDE, especially since it can have much older kernels than the Ubuntu version. The other changes that they talked about here is keyboard layout. They've been working on this for a while. So the Cinnamon receives support for FCITX5. And this has full Wayland and X11 parity, so allowing you to run the keyboard support really well, no matter if you choose to run Cinnamon on Wayland or on X. So that is actually new, and here's a new preview of the keyboard there. So that looks pretty nice. So then there's a few other things. Interacting with panels with full screen windows feels much more natural than before. Click other components to close the panel menu, etc. Basic things. And of course, thanks to the donors helping out Linux Mint. So there is our Linux Mint update for the month. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.